Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for this plan with me featuring this gorgeous floral kit from Let's Plan It. This is a deluxe kit, so I'm just quickly going through all the pages that are included and then we'll get started. So first we're going to start with the date covers. I always like to start by laying the date covers down first so that they kind of outline each column that I'm going to use for each day. So I usually start from the first dot on the left, and typically I try to give myself at least 8 grid spaces per day. So you can see that's kind of how I line it out, but at the end I have a little bit too much space left over at the end of the week, so I ended up spacing it a little bit more this time. What I did was I kept my 8 and then actually left 1 grid space in between each day, which I think worked out really well. But it just helped fill the page out a little bit more, so there wasn't a whole lot of white space hanging out at the end. I do like white space, just not that much white space. You can see on the right, I've left out some of my favorite pens that I typically use for planning, as well as a couple of colored Tombos that I picked out that really matched the color of the kit well, that I thought I might use if I just wanted to add a little bit of embellishments or, you know, add a little bit of colored flair to some of the white space. So I have those 2 colors there, and then the 2 pens that I typically write with are the Tombow Fudeno Suki pen, the hard tip, and then the Sigma Micron 0.5. So then after I laid down the date covers, I just went and put in the bottom washi. This kit was designed for the Erin Condren Life Planner, so there's one strip that's a bit smaller and one strip that's a bit bigger. The smaller strip actually fits perfectly. I don't have to cut any piece of it, which is great. And then you'll see on the other page that I do have to trim that one just a little bit, but other than that, there's really not a lot of manipulation that has to happen to use this kit. So for Monday, the first thing I put down is the Today's Stuff sticker, and then a quarter box just to capture something important that has to happen that day. So either it might be an event or it might be just a task that really needs to get done that day that I want to make a priority. Then I put in the full box, and then I put in my to-do list for that day. Usually Monday has the biggest to-do list because I tend to start off the week with a lot of things, and then the rest of the week tends to be a little bit quiet until I get to Friday. So Monday and Friday I would say are my 2 largest task days. So then Tuesday, I'll start off with a quarter box. That's because Tuesday is payday, so I always just want to mark that on top. And then I'll put my today's stuff, and then I'll go in with a full box and my checklist again. My personal preference is to stagger the full boxes unless there's a landscape kind of picture that goes across multiple full boxes, which Let's Plan It has some gorgeous kits that do that. But if the full boxes don't need to be together, my preference is to have them staggered a little bit. I know that a lot of people like to have them, right side by side and everything's lined up, but I like to have things a little bit staggered. That's just my preference. I kind of like the staggered look. Also on Tuesday, you can see I put an extra quarter box on the bottom. This is because my dog walker comes on Tuesday, and I just wanted to make sure that I mark that down so I don't forget, and am not surprised when she shows up. I think that's been the biggest thing during this whole quarantine, is really trying to remember which day it is so that things that you still have ongoing don't surprise you when they happen, because you've completely forgotten that they needed to happen in the first place, which has happened to me a few times. So I'm trying to get better about really pointing out the things that are happening each day so that I don't forget something important. And then Wednesday, again, doing my today quarter box just to highlight something that needs to be done that day, and then putting in my checkbox for my to-do list and the full box on the bottom. If you are curious about which journal I'm using, this is the Archer and Olive Neapolitan journal. So it is an A5 size and it alternates between white pages, craft pages, and blackout pages. It's been really fun to use, just being able to kind of see how kits work with the different colored pages, and really allowing me to play around and switch it up with the pages rather than being stuck in, just craft or just blackout or just white pages for an entire journal. It's been a lot of fun being able to switch things around. So now I am going in and doing my sidebar page. I do go in after and cut this page down because I usually like to leave it as just kind of a small flap in between, but I prefer to do the sidebar on its own page rather than trying to fit it in on the first or the second page, because then I have to condense the days of the week, which I don't like doing. I prefer to give them the full columns. So first I go in and put the full box with the quote because I think that looks really nice on the sidebar. Then I'm going to go in and put my weekly tracker, and so this one is a full box with just all the days of the week, and it's really great to put in any kind of events happening. I will track the days that my husband works because he doesn't work every day, so I can just keep track of which days he's working and what times he's working at. And then outside of that, there's not a whole lot going on. Obviously, given the quarantine, everybody's kind of sticking close to home, but I do have a few people that I see regularly, such as my family and then a small cohort of friends with children who are around the same age as my daughter. So I do have a few people that I am seeing, but outside of that, not a whole lot going on, so this tends to be relatively blank. Next, I go in and put in my habit trackers, and then there's a little space left on the bottom, so I'm just trying to find some deco to fit. The first one I picked hung off the page a little too much, and I don't want to cut it, so I go back and find a bit of a smaller one. It does go up a little bit on top of the date cover, or out of the date cover, the habit tracker, but not too bad, so it worked out pretty well. Then I just trim that down so you can see that it's now the little flap, and then I go in and add meals on the back. So again, I'm going to put in the full box tracker with the days of the week, and for this I mostly track just what we're having for supper. I work from home, but still my work day is kind of all over the place, so I tend to get up early and eat breakfast, and then lunch is kind of whenever my meetings allow it to be. And my husband is home, but he's taking care of my daughter, so he kind of plans his breakfast and lunch whenever, but supper is the one meal that we all eat together always, so that's why I like to track what we're going to make for supper. Now I'm going into the second page and putting in my day covers, and you'll see that I go from right to left because I try to mimic what I've done on the first page as far as spacing. So of course I spaced from the outer dot and inwards, so I have to do the same thing when I do the second page. So it is a little bit strange to be planning from right to left. I know it looks a bit odd, but it definitely works out in the end because then the first and the second page look basically identical as far as spacing goes. Now I'm just going in on Thursday and putting in my today's stuff sticker. Again, putting in some quarter boxes just to highlight some of the important things happening that day, or something that I really want to make sure gets accomplished, so I pull it out rather than having it in the to-do list where it kind of just tends to get lost in everything else that needs to get done. You can see I take a little bit of a break here. I'm trying to figure out which full box to use for that day because I already used the full box that had the pink background on Wednesday. So there's a whole lot of floral boxes. So I'm just trying to find the one that has the most pink so that it color blocks well. Kind of similar to what I did for Tuesday, because you can see on Tuesday I picked a floral box that had as many of the kind of more peachy colored flowers. And so I just do the same thing for Thursday. I pick a full box that has as many pink flowers as possible, and then put that in. And then last, I put my to-do list in. As I said, there's usually not a whole lot going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for to-do lists, so the to-do lists tend to be a little bit shorter. And then I usually do bigger lists on Monday and Friday, because those are the 2 days I tend to just accomplish a lot more, I find. So I took a small break just to cut down the bottom washi for the second page. As I mentioned before, it's a little bit of a longer strip, so I just had to quickly measure and cut it down so that it would fit on the second page. Really very minimal, easy to do is just to cut the washi. So that is the only alteration that I had to make to the sticker kit in order to make it fit with my planner. So after I put in the bottom washi, then I start to put in my stickers for Friday. Again, starting off with the today's stuff, and then moving with my checklist and then the full box. And again, just having to pick out the full box that had the most green, because I used the full box that had the green background already on Wednesday, but I think I did a pretty good job of trying to color block for this week. I don't do color blocking very often, so I'm not the best at it, but I think I did a pretty good job, so I'm proud of myself anyways. I put in a big box there on Friday because I have a couple things that I do want to highlight for myself, but otherwise it's Friday. I try not to put too much on my plate on Friday. Although Friday does tend to be a bit of a quieter day as far as work goes, especially during the summer. A lot of people like to take Fridays off, I find, so it tends to be a quieter day from work, which means I can sometimes duck out a little bit early and accomplish a little bit more at home. But my husband also works Friday night, so basically as soon as I'm done work, I take over spending time with my daughter, and then he heads off to work. So not a lot that can be accomplished in those times. You can see I just go in and put in Sunday as well. I do a split column for Saturday and Sunday because I tend to not do quite as much on the weekend. My husband works all day on Saturday, so Saturday for sure there's no point in me trying to put in a huge to-do list because it just won't get done. My daughter is walking, so she is all over the place, and it's really hard for me to do anything because she is trouble and likes to get into everything. So I tend to spend most of my day hanging out with her when I'm by myself and not really doing anything extra. So on Saturday, I just make sure not to really put in too much for myself. Maybe one highlight for Saturday, and that's about it. No point adding a huge to-do list that just won't get done. Then you can see I go into my sidebar and just add a checklist for next week so that I can keep track of anything that comes up that's going to have to get done the following week, or any events or appointments that possibly get booked. Then I go in and start putting in some of the scripts for some of the highlights that I had. So like I mentioned, for Tuesday, it's payday. For Thursday, I put in laundry because I'll typically start doing laundry on Thursday, but it takes me till Sunday to finish it because I tend to just do a little bit every night, starting on Thursday. On Monday, I'm hoping to go grocery shopping, so I just put that in. And then I have to add a quarter box on Sunday. Sundays are cleaning days, so putting in as stickers is to make sure that I am aware that I'm going to be cleaning. I mean, I'm aware of it, but it's mostly just to highlight that that's going to happen. Since that's the day both my husband and I are off, we try to tackle all of the cleaning on that day. And now we are done. Thank you so much for joining me for this plan with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.